Over the past few years, VR has been gaining a lot of attention among gamers and consumers. VR is the most immersive form of entertainment, and it's really interesting to explore worlds both new and familiar. Over the past few years, many groundbreaking headsets have released, such as the Oculus Rift and Quest, the HTC Vive, and the Valve Index. Even Nintendo tapped into the VR market with the Nintendo Labo VR for the Nintendo Switch. So in this video, I will be ranking the top 5 VR games in my opinion, but keep in mind I haven't played Beat Saber or Boneworks, so this list could change in the future. I also decided to put a couple Nintendo Labo VR supported games on this list because I really enjoyed the immersion of those games, even though it only used 3 degrees of freedom. So with all of that said, let's go ahead and get started with this list. The first 2 games on this list are Nintendo Labo VR games, and my second favorite is the VR mode in The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. This game by far has the most content in a Nintendo Labo VR game. You can explore the whole game in VR and experience the scale of everything. Even though this game is the least visually impressive on the list, it still holds up in the scene of advanced VR graphics. This game is still very immersive for a game that you can only play in the third person and with only 3 degrees of freedom, because it gives you the impression of moving alongside Link throughout the world of Hyrule. You don't really appreciate how large the world of Hyrule is until you experience it in VR, and really, it is an impressive experience. Captain Toad Treasure Tracker is definitely the most VR optimized and VR fitting game on the Nintendo Switch. Some puzzle games are very fitting for VR, and that includes Captain Toad. This game really puts you into the world of Captain Toad and really makes you feel immersed into the game when you guide Toad through each level. The experience itself is the closest the Nintendo Switch can get to true VR. On the other hand, the content was very lacking, only having a few levels, but the experience and optimization itself was enough for me to like the game more than any other Nintendo VR game. Superhot is a very interesting game, making use of time itself as the main mechanic of the game. Whenever you move, everything else moves. This translates very well into VR. It makes use of all 6 degrees of freedom, allowing for self-movement rather than a control stick. Even though you stay in one position in the VR version, in my opinion, it works really well and allows you to be aware of your surroundings. The immersion also feels really well since you can really feel what's happening all around you in the game. In the game, it feels really satisfying to pull off different tricks or throw an object. This game also requires a lot of strategy and attention since it's kind of a mixture between a puzzle game and a shooter. Minecraft is one of my most favorite games of all time, and to experience that familiar game that we all know and love in VR is amazing. Whenever you're exploring one of your personal worlds, or creating an entirely new one in VR, you get the same magical feeling of Minecraft, but amplified. It's interesting to see the true scale of buildings and creations in the game from your own perspective, and you can really notice a lot more about what's going on around you. Minecraft is one of the best games to get started in VR because most people are already familiar with the game and they can discover the true scale of everything in VR. But before we get to the next game, I have to say Minecraft, before the next game on the list came out, was my favorite VR game. So let's go ahead and get to the number 1 spot. Yeah, this one's a pretty surprising one. HalfLife Alex is the most influential and successful VR game so far, and it is the reason a lot of people are starting to get into VR now. HalfLife Alex is the closest VR game so far to be perfect. The graphics and visuals are amazing, the gameplay is refined, and it has really good aesthetics. It works really well on every VR headset, including Valve's own Index, the Oculus headsets, and the HTC headsets. If you don't know much about the game, it takes 5 years before Half-Life 2, and you follow the character Alex Vance. I won't really go into the story because the game's still new and I don't really want to spoil it for everyone since it only came out like a month ago. But overall, Half-Life Alex is the first AAA VR exclusive game, and hopefully this sets the example for future VR exclusive titles. So with all that said, thank you guys for watching this video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and say something in the comments if you want to see more VR content. Goodbye.